is with the greatest of pleasure that I welcome you, members of the graduate school class of 2021, your friends and family, members of the university, as well as our graduation speaker, to Loyola University Chicago's 151st Annual Commencement Exercises for the Graduate School. Today is a very special day, for it represents the culmination of several years of scholarly effort and dedication on the part of all of our graduates. The graduate school, as with the university more broadly, upholds the Jesuit ideal of using knowledge in the service of society. As a graduate student, you have engaged in reflective practice, drawing upon what you have learned here at Loyola through rigorous study and training, and applied your skills to an array of challenges in numerous classrooms, labs, and placement settings. Linking theory to practice, you have used your intellectual talents to improve the lives of others and to meet the societal, spiritual, and environmental needs of a global society. As graduate students, you have accomplished much in your time here, but you would be the first to acknowledge that you did not do so alone. I know you will join me in thanking Loyola's extraordinary faculty and staff, and please also join me in thanking the folks who made all this possible: your parents, spouses and partners, family, and friends. Let me join you in collectively, albeit remotely, applauding their efforts as well. With your graduate degree in hand, you are rightly posed to go forth and to use the knowledge, skills, and experience you gained here at Loyola to pursue your dreams, accomplish great things, and leave the world a better place than you found it. We are so proud that you are joining the ranks of our alumni, and we look forward to what you will accomplish next. Know that as our alumni, you will always be welcomed on campus and have a home at Loyola. Now, let us get on with the happy business of the day, your graduation. Congratulations again. I would now like to welcome our student speaker to provide remarks. Lydia Craig is receiving her Doctor of Philosophy in English. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you, Dean Barman. Good afternoon. My name is Lydia Craig, and I am thankful for the opportunity to address you today as a fellow graduate and student speaker for this May commencement occasion. We have all overcome obstacles of every kind to reach this moment, defying circumstances, tragedies, delays, opposition, and our own weaknesses to finish the degrees we are now awarded. The process is never easy, but over the past year and several months, we have dealt with extraordinary challenges to the fulfillment of our plans that I, for one, never anticipated. Over the past 6 years, I have hurried through the southern entrance of Damon Center to be almost immediately confronted with the large letters of our university's motto, "Go forth and set the world on fire," a command attributed to St. Ignatius of Loyola. Sometimes, having slept far too little and drunk far too much coffee, I chuckled at what seemed like a dangerous idea if taken at face value. Other times, I thought more seriously about the practical meaning of this idea of sparking change. The Jesuit saying plays on the idea of fire's transforming power, urging us to change society through our future actions. Fire is an irrational, devastating force. If left to intensify, it consumes homes, cities, and forests. To put it out, we need strategies, tools such as water, CO2, synthetic foam, equipment, and most of all, teamwork. Right now, we live in a time where plans, tools, and unity are in short supply. In 2021, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, political unrest, and an immense cultural divide, I now wonder, how can we set the world on fire when it is already burning? The answer, I believe, is to fight fire with the fire of our enthusiasm. For millennia, we humans have combated fire through various calculated means. We have started controlled fires to keep a massive conflagration at bay. We have created fire breaks, depriving the inferno of materials through which to derive oxygen. Learning from our mistakes, we build better houses of better materials to withstand the next catastrophe, and we never stop fighting fire. Every fire, no matter how great, comes to an end. And nature itself begins its renewing work of healing and growth. Together, Loyola University Chicago's class of 2021 can choose to be that barrier, those warriors, those rebuilders. We come from various disciplines and will go into vastly different fields of work, research, design, and administration. In your future life, especially over the next few years, think of us as your team. We will work together, separately and together, to help defeat and resolve the issues troubling and threatening our society. This is a gift and a privilege, and we are called as one to do it. As the American Revolution began, Thomas Paine addressed fellow Americans in a 1776 pamphlet called Common Sense. Though the situation was dire and the new nation faced apparently insurmountable odds, he realized, we have the power to begin the world over again. In closing, I also challenge you to remember that the Jesuit doctrine of cura personalis, or care for the whole person, applies to your own well-being, as well as that of the members of your society. That is one lesson I have learned during my time at this institution, that my work often suffers when I fail to nurture myself as well as others. While changing the world for the better, with all the fire of your passion for progress, don't leave yourself out in the cold. My fellow graduates, I am proud of you all for achieving this important goal and wish you all the best as we embrace the work of beginning the world over again. Congratulations, class of 2021. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker. Jarrett Adams is an attorney specializing in criminal defense and civil rights cases and practices in both state and federal courts. Jarrett received his Juris Doctor degree from Loyola in 2015. Welcome, Jarrett.
Thank you, Lydia, and thank you, Dean Barman. Greetings, class of 2021. My name is Jarrett Adams, and I am a proud alum of Loyola Law School and excited to be your keynote speaker for this year's graduating class. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you all. You should be very proud of accomplishing this goal. All of you have had to overcome some challenges and obstacles on the way to achieving your degree, including battling a pandemic while finishing up your last year. I can tell you for sure that I understand what it's like to face adversity and continue to pursue your dreams. When I was 17 years old, my life changed instantly and forever. I was falsely accused and ultimately wrongfully convicted of a crime that I did not commit. I was sentenced to serve 28 years in a maximum security prison, but I didn't give up. There were nights that I cried, but I did not cower. There were nights I suffered, but my faith did not cease. For the first few days, I laid on my bunk in my cell and I did not move. I had no appetite, so I couldn't eat, and I was in such despair that I couldn't sleep. So what are you gonna do? That was the question posed to me by my cellmate, a man in his late 60s who had been in prison for 22 years serving a life sentence. You can get off that bunk and start fighting for justice, or you can lay there for 28 years and accept that injustice. So what are you gonna do? Armed with just a high school education and my faith in the Lord, I patiently and painstakingly started to teach myself the law. The stories of prisons being violent and seriously overcrowded, they're very real. I was able to navigate my way through danger by making the prison law library my best friend. As soon as I was able to grasp the law, I started to write to everyone I could think of and ask for help. I served close to 10 wrongful years in prison before a group called the Wisconsin Innocence Project assisted me in litigating my case and getting my conviction reversed. I was released from prison in February of 2007, but I still had the lasting memories of the pain, the suffering, and the anguish my family and I endured while serving each and every one of those unjust years. While staying with my mother, I realized that I now faced a new difficult challenge. I had no money, I had no job, no education, and a 10-year gap in my life and my resume that scared off most employers. So what are you gonna do? I remember those words and decided to embrace the pain, the suffering, and the anguish and recycle it into the motivation to positively affect as many people as I could. Wasting no time at all, I enrolled in college a month after my release, and I aggressively sought to find employment. My perseverance paid off, and with the help of a scholarship organization, I graduated with honors and obtained an associate's degree. I went on to obtain my bachelor's degree and then my law degree from Loyola. After obtaining my law degree, I asked myself this time, so what are you gonna do? I left Loyola and started a dual fellowship where I clerked in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, the same court that overturned my conviction. I then took and passed the New York bar and worked as an attorney for the Innocence Project in New York. I stand before you today as the owner of the law office of Jared Adams, a firm that now has offices in 3 major cities, New York, Milwaukee, and Chicago. I mention all of these accomplishments not to impress you, but to impress upon you that the hard work you got in to get your degree has now prepared you to go out into the world and positively affect it no matter what adversity comes your way. The fact is, this world needs you now more than ever. We are facing different, yet familiar challenges: race, gender equality, prison reform, all issues that are in critical stages before us today. I challenge you all not to just accept this degree. I challenge you to go out into the world to positively impact it as much as humanly possible. No matter what your field of study has been or what your profession ends up being, there are so many ways that you can make a difference. I'll close my remarks with this. You have your degree, but that won't shield you from adversity. You have the skill set, but that won't make you immune from making mistakes. You have the passion to be great, but that doesn't mean there won't be stumbling blocks. Regardless of what it is, remember that giving up is not an option. So when adversity rears its ugly head, your response is not to cower. Simply stand tall and ask yourself this: so what are you going to do? I would now like to welcome back Dean Barman to introduce a faculty member of the year and provide some final remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jarrett. It is now my pleasure to present the Graduate Faculty Member of the Year, which recognizes outstanding contributions to the graduate school in the areas of research, teaching, and service. This year's award winner is Dr. Emily Anderson, Associate Professor in the Neiswanger Institute for Bioethics at the Stritch School of Medicine. The Council of Graduate School Programs selected Dr. Anderson for this award because of her extraordinary work as a teacher, researcher, and mentor. She is an excellent example of a scholar in service of others. Dr. Anderson has been part of the Loyola faculty for the last decade, a linchpin in the teaching of research ethics on the health sciences campus. Her publication record is exceptional, frequently resulting in twice the average publications per year in her field. One recent publication in the American Journal of Bioethics studied physician misconduct and has generated a great deal of interest within the discipline of ethics as well as the broader public. Dr. Anderson also consistently earns significant funding for her research through external grants and contracts. One such award, the NIH Fogarty Grant, she recently secured in order to bring scholars from the Ukraine to the United States to learn bioethics alongside Loyola graduate students. Thus, her contributions to her field are notable both on a domestic and international scale. Dr. Anderson's colleagues note that she not only is a star, but she is a true team player who builds community within the graduate school and the broader university. This has been exemplified most recently by her service to the university as it perseveres in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, where she has spoken on vaccine hesitancy and participated in panel discussions on ethical concerns in discover and technological development. She has responded to the times in her teaching as well, co-teaching courses on global bioethics and the bioethics of pandemics, as well as building an entire course on feminist bioethics when students expressed interest in reading more on the subject. Dr. Emily Anderson's contributions to the field of bioethics through research, teaching, and service are exceptional, and we are proud to have her as a member of the Loyola community. She has fully committed to educating the next generation of scientists and educators and ensuring that they are well prepared to conduct responsible, ethical, and critical biomedical research in service of the human community. And thus she perfectly exemplifies the characteristics of Graduate Faculty Member of the Year. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Emily Anderson. The class of 2021 will now be individually recognized for their achievements. Congratulations again to you, the class of 2021. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Dean Barman. My name is Leanne Cribbs, Associate Dean for Graduate Education. For the degree, Doctor of Philosophy. Mashael Abdullah S. Al-Ghamdi. Dr. Al-Ghamdi studied allosteric effectors of bacterial ADP glucose pyrophosphorylase. Ashley Page Allen. Dr. Allen studied cultural competence training in undergraduate education policy and education studies programs. Aisha Awad A. Al-Sharani. Dr. Al-Sharani studied the impact of metal ions on the enhancement of current output. Reem Fayez Al-Shari. Dr. Al-Shari studied electron transfer at clay-modified ITO electrode. Lamia Youssef Y. Al-Yaba. Dr. Al-Yaba studied cancer screening and health promotion of Arab Americans. Jacob Andrews. Dr. Andrews studied the relation between knowledge and faith in medieval philosophy. Johanna Angler Berry. Dr. Berry studied parenting capacity and meaning-making among survivors of intimate partner violence. Kaglayan Baser. Dr. Baser studied impact of women insurgents in rebel groups. Andrew John Blosser. Dr. Blosser studied the Sabbath and the politics of human inoperativity. Ashley Brown. Dr. Brown studied feminist approaches to masculinity programming in higher education. David Michael Buchenhofer. Dr. Buchenhofer studied the relevance of God's existence for moral knowledge. William Howard Burr. Dr. Burr studied how corporate hierarchies and organizational culture collided during the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Randolph J. Carlson, Jr. Dr. Carlson studied when we should modify our beliefs in light of political disagreements. Gabriel J. Katanis. Dr. Katanis studied the uncovering of Filipino-American Christian ethics. Soli Chaco. Dr. Chaco studied identity for Asian Indian youth. Natasha Chander. Dr. Chander studied domestic violence and South Asian American women. Xi Chen. Dr. Chen investigated the roles of lipids in Staphylococcus aureus infection. Yao Chen. Dr. Chen studied the concept of merit from the perspective of teachers in China's key schools. Jeanette Eileen Clay. Dr. Clay studied the influence of women's peace encampments during the late Cold War. Lydia Elizabeth Craig. Dr. Craig studied depictions of upstarts by 19th century English novelists. Laura Amy de la Peña. Dr. de la Peña investigated the role of pediatric healthcare providers' perceptions in early detection of postpartum depression. Chelsea Ray Deneau. Dr. Deneau studied trash, activism, and urban finance in Detroit. Laura Margaret Lehman Distel. Dr. Distel examined mental health, family conflict, and body mass index among Mexican-origin immigrant families. Colleen Frances Bechtel Driscoll. Dr. Driscoll studied parenting and the quality of life in families of youth with spina bifida. Catherine Dusing. Dr. Dusing studied the impact of violence exposure on children's mental health and family functioning. Caitlin Dyson. Dr. Dyson studied relating violence with respect to modernism, narrative, and ethics. Jonathan Michael Eby. Dr. Eby studied molecular mechanisms underlying alcohol inhibition of bone fracture healing. Amy Michelle Egbert. Dr. Egbert studied the relation between appearance evaluation and disordered eating attitudes throughout college. Timothy Paul Finn. Dr. Finn studied vigilance and the nurse anesthetist. Sophia Flores Perez. Dr. Flores Perez studied teacher perceptions and experiences with self-regulation strategies in general education classrooms. David Joseph Ford. Dr. Ford studied the targets and function of the MLR compass-like complex during development. Liliana Shanti Franco Carrera. Dr. Franco Carrera studied the experiences of first-generation Latinx students in their college choice process. Richard Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert studied the dramaturgical work of representations of violence in contemporary plays. Norberto Manuel Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez studied optimization of microbial fuel cells. Briellen Elizabeth Griffin. Dr. Griffin studied the impact of race on teacher-student interactions. Jorge Humberto Guzman Gonzalez. Dr. Guzman studied the impact of conditional cash transfers on inequality in Latin America. Thahani Shefna Habib Mohammed. Dr. Habib Mohammed investigated the development of novel antimicrobials. Matthew Stephen Hackbart. Dr. Hackbart investigated how the coronavirus endoribonuclease antagonizes immune signaling. Lisa Harton. Dr. Harton studied safety culture experiences in medical surgical staff nurses versus nurse leaders. Emma Therese Healy. Dr. Healy studied the social responsiveness scale for Black and Latinx children. Natalia Hernandez Vidal. Dr. Hernandez Vidal studied community knowledge and political mobilization in Colombia. Lincoln Andreas Hill. Dr. Hill studied imposter phenomenon, stereotypes, and mental health in Black women college students. Lauren Hint. Dr. Hint studied ecological systems in the context of foster care and incarceration. Bryn Huguenel. Dr. Huguenel studied how college students engage with mental health apps. Rania Ali Hussein. Dr. Hussein studied the regulation of the ADP glucose pyrophosphorylase from bacteria using protein engineering. Courtney Reginald Hutchings. Dr. Hutchings studied Black gay, bisexual, and queer men's experiences in college mentorship programs. Awatef Bakr-O Ibrahim. Dr. Ibrahim studied diabetic peripheral neuropathy symptoms in quality of life among type 2 diabetes patients living in Saudi Arabia. Willie Walter Jackson, Jr. Dr. Jackson investigated the impact of art exposure via art-based scientific methods. Casey A. Jurgensen. Dr. Jurgensen studied utopia and narrative in contemporary fiction. Matthew Benjamin Kemp. Dr. Kemp studied John Henry Newman's Trinitarian theology. Chun Cook Kim. Dr. Kim studied estrogen regulation of microRNA stability in neurons. Ahmed Kuta. Dr. Kuta performed comparative studies on bovine, ovine, and porcine heparins. Dorothy McLeod Loren. Dr. Loren studied measures of acculturation and relations to weight among Mexican origin youth. Marissa Elaine Luck. Dr. Luck studied the effect of interleukin-27 on the maintenance of gut barrier following ethanol intoxication and burn injury. Adriana Marie Lugosin. Dr. Lugosin studied first-row transition metal complexes supported by a new class of pincer redox non-innocent ligand. Cesar Eber Montelongo Hernandez. Dr. Montelongo studied how viruses infect urinary bacteria. Siddhesh Jyoti Mukherjee. Dr. Mukherjee studied implications of the self-world relationship in Zen Buddhism for social work's person-in-environment perspective. Anya Marie Nicolai. Dr. Nicolai studied cord blood-derived T cells and the effect of vitamin D on immune suppression. Paul Robert Olander. Dr. Olander studied private military and security corporations in civil conflicts. Jang Ho Park. Dr. Park studied the effect of psychological self-sufficiency on economic self-sufficiency among low-income job seekers. Lourdes Beatriz Plaza Rojas. Dr. Plaza Rojas studied suffocated T cells in the hypoxic tumor microenvironment. Kelly Polnazek. Dr. Polnazek studied cortical and psychological mechanisms of visceral pain. Barbara Therese Pudalek. Dr. Pudalek investigated relationships among nursing presence, openness, and fatigue in acute care nurses. Haisa Raphael Bonomo. Dr. Bonomo studied the role of lipids in obesity-induced peripheral pain. Mami Wilson Daniel Randrio Mamantena. Dr. Randrio Mamantena studied the role of the Vatican diplomatic subunits in the area of conflict mediation. Kelsey Nicole Reed. Dr. Reed investigated exclusionary discipline, teachers, deficit thinking, and racial disproportionality. Catherine Marie Renier. Dr. Renier studied adsorption and transport of toxic compounds by microplastics and environmental plastic debris. Joseph Roman. Dr. Roman analyzed wild-type and oncogenic human isocitrate dehydrogenase. Anna Maria Rose. Dr. Rose studied the effects of parental functioning and socioeconomic status on outcomes following cognitive behavioral therapy group. Erica Lynn Sakuchi. Dr. Sakuchi studied the subjective child in Roman Catholic teaching. Kelly Lynn Schmidt. Dr. Schmidt studied enslaved people, Jesuit masters, and negotiations for freedom. Deborah Ann Sindewald. Dr. Sindewald studied the impact of behavioral symptoms on systematic inflammation and disruptions of diurnal cortisol on level of participation in cardiac rehabilitation and outcomes of cardiac health. Vidisha Sinha. Dr. Sinha studied the readiness of pediatricians to treat victims of child sex trafficking. Shelby Sleevey. Dr. Sleevey studied modernism's legacies, forms, feelings, and figures. Lauren Amanda Solarski. Dr. Solarski studied the impact of preschool teachers' participation in math-focused coaching. Alexa Stern. Dr. Stern studied depressive symptoms, neuropsychological functioning, and self-management in youth with spina bifida. Sarah Eileen Talley. Dr. Talley developed biosensors to monitor inflammation in vitro and in vivo. Carly Michelle Tyndall-Biggins. Dr. Tyndall-Biggins investigated listening to youth voice to understand the process of youth empowerment. Jacob Wayne Torbeck. Dr. Torbeck studied holy faces in mystical and liberation theologies. Marie Elizabeth Turano. Dr. Turano studied the surface chemistry of highly oxidized catalytically active metals. Augustin Vandu. Dr. Vandu studied reforestation in Cameroon in relation to Pope Francis's concept of integral ecology. Hao Wang. Dr. Wang studied the therapeutic potential of EPHA2 in hepatocellular carcinoma. Catherine Melinda Williams. Dr. Williams studied the patient's experience of psychoanalysis. Sebastian Peter Wupper. Dr. Wupper studied the German-American milieu in Chicago. Young Jae Yoon. Dr. Yoon studied the flexible impact of mood states on group decision-making and ideational creativity.
For the degree Doctor of Bioethics, Emmanuel Adu Ade. Sonia Castro Quirino. Neil P. Christensen. Colin Paul Eversman. Heather Fitzgerald.
Laura Madigan McCowan.
Ryan Mullen. Zaina Niles. Melinda Marie Plumley. John Charles Stiles. Gregory K. Webster. For the degree of Master of Arts, Imran Ahmed. Razan Al-Arifi. Amel Christine Aldura. Sahar Al-Najjar. Angela Victoria Anders. Teresa Ann Anderson. Scarlett Alina Andes. Athena Ruby Apabu. Barack Barr. Isla Basic. Thomas Batuk. Thomas Connor B. Beatrice Patricia Beckford. Nicole Alexandra Beckley. Susan Irene Bellinger. Peyton L. Berardi. Amrita Bagia, with distinction. Mark Joseph Blanky. Nada Botros. Kelly McCarthy Boyd. Sarah Ann Brennan. Justin Tyler Brown. Amanda Bush. Francesca Murray Camacho. Lauren Margaret Carr. John Carlos Casillas Cruzado. Dominic Hisang Chai, S.J. Leon Chang. Glenn Chapman. David Lee Collier King. Emma Jane Conley. Matthew Thomas Cote. Tania Marie Crawford. Dang Nguyen Kevin Dang. Samantha D'Souza. Nina Catherine Dharmaraja. Pooja Dupati. Molly Jane Driscoll. William Andrew Drust. Michael Jujakovich. Jennifer Ann Duval. Melissa Devenjack. Sarah Elizabeth Eden. Tyler Thomas Faith. Eugene Falk. Kelly K. Ferguson. Deborah G. Fletcher. David Eugene Fort. Caitlin L. Best. Charity Evian Freeman. Michaela Freeman. Andrew Thomas French. Stephanie Marie Frilling. Brian P. Galligan, S.J. Tanyelle Annette Gallman. George William Guevara. Bushra Hani Ganiwala. Haley Isabella Gilkey. Alexa Lerae Godinez. Eric Anthony Gonzarowski. Hector M. Gonzalez. Dennis Victor Guba. Amber Nicolette Guile. Cynthia Guzman. John L. Halstead. Jalen Hamilton. Joseph Hansen. Emily Rachel Hartman. Willow Teresa Head. Mary Teresa Henderson. Camille Latrice Hester. L. Simone Hill. Joshua Daniel Hinchy. Tara M. Hinckley. Christina Megan Hitchens. Christopher Michael Polonia S.J. Cheng Yi Regina Hong. Eloria Benjamina Horst. Emma Catherine Horst. Adnan Hussein. Elizabeth Elmore Shue. Daniel Huang. Lydia Renee Hala. Shitra Sharada Iyer. Michaela Sky Blakely Johnson. Mariah Lynn Johnson. Sarah Alicia Jolie. Jaspreet Kaur. Colin L. Keeney. Lauren Elizabeth Kennedy. Donna Marie Kennedy Williams. Hira Abid Khan. Kizar Khan. Mahmoud A. Khan. Alyssa Rachel Kleiner. Stephanie May Koo. Paula Adriana Costro. Erica Anna Kraft. Christiana Maria Christ. Anna M. Kroon. Ishpreet Kular. Arti Kupanen. Jillian Montgomery Larson. Harrison James Lee. Rebecca Ann Lippap. Matthew Xavier Lewis. Karen Lieberman. Juhi Lawani. Patrick Lamont Lindsay. Jordan Lalmong. Alan N. Loomis. Daniel Cody Levin. Catherine Mary Lynn. Marco Antonio Machado. Spencer C. Makovich. Rachel Ann Madden. Ekaterina Makovic. Prakruti Munyar. Carly Jean Mayer. Connor D. McDevitt. Michelle May McGuire. Colleen Mary McQueenie. Isabella Malachik. Biamber D. Miller. Letitia Christina Monreal. Kenneth Todd Moore. Olivia Grace Moore. Richard Andrew Morgan. Isabella Monroe. Bailey Lynn Murphy. John Gabriel Myers. Jeffrey Paul Nader. Kayla Navarrete. Chin Chung Nguyen. Michelle Huang Nguyen. Kristen Joelle Niebling. Fatima Tuzara Nizamuddin. Muhammad and Nizamuddin. Sophia Hannah Noto. Sari Lee Oak. Jenna Lee O'Leary. Janelle M. Ortega. Jennifer Lynn Osborne. Hannah Laurel Overstreet. Stephen Michael Pachuta. Paulina A. Pack. Grace Palaparti. Avery Elizabeth Pancratz. Michael David Panarala. Tarika D. Patel. Brenda Picongi. Paul Vincent Filipino. Sharmila Prabhu. Joshua Ian Q. Simona Ratchapali. Vanessa Alexis Runheld. Aliyah Javid Ratori. Leah Gwynn Ratley. Elizabeth Marie W. Rett. Lily Ann Renfro. Miranda Rydman. Charlotte Rodriguez. Bethany Joy Rogers. Carolina Rajka. Amanda Lynn Ruggieri. Amanda R. Scarpiti. Elizabeth Schmidt. Jesse Shope. Alexandra Catherine Sengupta. Osman Mohammed Shaheen. Delia A. Shahar. Zain Mohammed Sheikh. Nader M. Shamut. Arjun Sharma. Fernando Zigala. Sandrea Almiz Singleton. Christopher Joseph Vaughn Smith, S.J. Nicholas J. Sporky. Catherine Arden Springham. Shelby Renee Stafford. Zachary M. Stella. Catherine Lucille Stromsland. Gabriella Swan.
Juliana Tamayo.
Casey Jeffrey Terry. Anup Mayank Bakor. Justin Keith Thompson. Noel Jajuri Torres. Ha Tran. Ashik Upadhyay. Jefferson J. Uriarte. Girija Subhash Beja. Julie LeMay Vaughn. Robert Vincent. Alexandra S. Vitale. An Nguyen Vu. Haley Valencia Wilkins. Erin Marie Witt. Elijah Ben Nasso Wittenberg. Megana Yerapothi. Casey Nile Young. For the degree of Master of Public Policy, Hamilton Savannah Anderson.
Victoria A. Frazier.
Samantha Guthman. Christopher Joseph Hoey. Megan Elizabeth Pianta. Gabrielle Brianna Robinson. Lilia Elena Valdez. Kevin Patrick White.
For the degree Master of Science, Paulina Adamski. Ikeade Oluwasun Hadabusoyi. Kofi Amavor. Nicole Amstadt. Lillian Ana Lucia Arnoldoff. Amy K. Arp. Osbel Asefa. Timothy Daniel Baker. Barack Balva. Sophia Bello. Elizabeth Marjorie Berg. Griffin Tyler Berg. Michael Bochert. Megan Elizabeth Bollinger. Mirage Brombat. Simran Brar. Theodore Albert Broccoli, Jr. Arman Andre Khan. Wade Robert Catt. Theodora Jane Ciccarelli. Heather Chester.
Joshua Cohen.
Rupert Cruz Kongman. Yanji Kui. Kathleen Delaney. Anthony Michael DeMeo. Riley DeMoulinaire. Zhufang Deng. Kevin Michael Donahue. Madison Dunkley. Laura Alice Eldridge. Nadia El Sharif. Jeremy Joseph Essen. Joseph Gabriel Fernandez. Noel Christian Fiorito. Hong Yang Fu. Bibo Gao. Shanna Geisinger. Elise Catherine Jeffwa. Maria Margarita Gokal Kapos. Grant Ethan Gotchman. Marion Lee Graham. Nathaniel Frank Gross. Erica Ray Gumkowski. John Habert. Grace Hammock. Harsh Nilesh Hariani. Sean Higgins. Curtis Brian Himmler. Nathaniel Edward Hishan. Chelsea Hu. Sharon Elizabeth Hall. Bridget Hulsabosch. Richard Hoon. Charles Lance Harold Ingersoll. Bartlomiej Iwan. Natalie Jacob. Piotr Andrei Yukovsky. Rejoice Raja Jebabmalaitis. Genevieve Barbara Johnson. Bismarck Juarez. Gerline Carr Cottrell. Eric John Killam. Lisa Hanwell Kim. Elise Nicole Klein. Sophie LaBelle. Allison Lang. Robert Dean Lauer. Sophie Lee. Natasha Leonard. Morgan Lenz. Brandy Alexis Lech. Brandon Lim. Yu Chin Lin. Andrew Paul Littleton. Benjamin Joseph Lawrence. Paul Macniak. Benjamin Mansky. Eleanor Grace Marcette. Lillian Marina Mather. Jessica Matic. Joel William Mayo. Benjamin Pascual Maza. Francis Tapiwa Bayiwa. Casey Ann McCarthy. Andrew Michael McGettigan. Taylor Miller Esminger. Anadi Mizra. Timothy Mitchell. Clayton Lee Monia. Sandy Ruby Morales. Nicholas Andrew Moreno. Amanda Morgan. Ashley Jessica Mulford. Joshua Andrew Murphy. Jared Navarro. Navy Niang. Duyen Hong Nguyen. Sabrina Nguyen. Trevor Nykamp. Brandon Robert O'Gorman. Paul Chukwuebuka Okoro. Oreolowa Susan Amoba. Rukayat Bola Abiola Oyeleki. Michael Vincenzo Palazzetti. Avi Patel. Neha Patel. Shinal Patel. Hannah Catherine Plunkett. Ali Razvi. Jennifer Lynn Rich. Casey Ray Richenberger. Paul Joseph Risteka. Brandon Christopher Ristoff. Amal Rohale. Nicholas Rolfus. Dalton James Roth. Leanne Ruddy. Brian David Rust. Jennifer Na-Adoli Saki. Mid Samudin. Ryan Schubert. Shivang Sunil Kumar Shah. Mohammed Rayan Shaji. Anshul Shankar. Muhammad Ibad or Raymond Siddiqui. Samuel Sainer. Nancy Barrington Sloan. Adriana Soriano. Vimal Subramaniam. Robert Eric Shachipta. Cheryl Ann Teal. Emmanuel Thomas. Ugenbold Segmed. Margaret Earl Utgard. Ashley Marie Walker. Alexander Kuji Welch. Eric Ilya White. Paul James Wilkinson. Lauren Wisbrough. Grace Yee. Emma Yuen. Raquel Rose Zazi. Jia Zhang.